the NFL draft just around the corner, the rumor mill is starting to spin fast, and one name that's quietly gaining traction in trade talks is Dallas Goedert. The Philadelphia Eagles tight end, a veteran presence and longtime contributor in their offense, is now becoming a real possibility to be moved. And let's be honest, the timing makes total sense. Goedert is 30 years old, on the final year of his contract, and set to carry a cap hit north of $11 million in the upcoming season. For a team like Philly, which is always looking to be one step ahead with the roster, keeping a player with that kind of number without some sort of pay cut or restructure, that's a tough sell. Now, the Eagles aren't just trying to push Goedert out. This is business. This is what happens when teams are planning for the future while staying competitive in the present. And what we're hearing is that a trade involving Dallas Goedert isn't just a possibility. It's something that could go down before the draft. That's right, it's not some distant, off-season hypothetical. This could happen any moment. The front office, led by Howie Roseman, is known for being aggressive, calculated, and always ready to make moves others wouldn't even consider. And in this case, they're apparently open to doing something a bit unorthodox, accepting future draft capital, even if it comes in the form of 2026 picks. Usually, when a veteran is on the trade block, the return is expected to come quickly. First or second-day picks in the upcoming draft, players who can contribute immediately. That's the standard. But here's the twist. Philly's front office reportedly doesn't feel the need to force that. If no team steps up with a decent 2025 pick, they're open to looking ahead even further. That tells you one thing. They're confident in their scouting and development. They're not in panic mode. They're planning, calculating, and probably already eyeing who might be the next tight end to fit into this high-powered offense. And let's not forget, this year's draft class is stacked with tight end talent, legitimately deep. We're talking about multiple prospects who are ready to step in and contribute right away. That plays perfectly into this entire scenario. The Eagles could deal Goedert, use a mid-round pick to grab one of these young guys, and transition into the next phase at the position with someone on a rookie contract. That's not just good cap management. That's long-term roster building at its finest. Dallas Goedert has been in Philly for his entire career. 7 seasons of grinding, blocking, catching, and becoming a core part of this offense. After the departure of Zach Ertz, he stepped up and owned the role of tight end one. But the truth is, his production in the last season took a bit of a dip. He was limited by injuries, only played a handful of games, and ended the year with under 500 yards and just 2 touchdowns. That's a notable drop, especially when you consider the weapons this team has in the passing game. The Eagles are stacked with talent. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and now Saquon Barkley joining the mix. There's no shortage of options for Jalen Hurts to target. But that also means the tight end position can't afford to be a weak link. If Goedert can't bounce back in a big way, it makes sense to consider other options. And let's be clear, this isn't about doubting Goedert's talent. He's still one of the better all-around tight ends in the league when healthy. It's about timing. It's about age, cap space, and the direction this roster is heading. If a deal goes down before the draft, Philly can immediately look to the incoming rookie class to fill the gap. But if it happens afterward, the strategy might shift. They might bring in a veteran to bridge the gap for a year, then go big next spring with a top prospect. Either way, the Eagles aren't going to be caught off guard. They're setting the stage to evolve, to stay competitive, and to make sure the offense doesn't miss a beat. This is the kind of move that might not make headlines like a blockbuster quarterback trade, but it's the type of decision that smart front offices make to keep their teams in the playoff mix year after year. Trading a beloved veteran isn't easy. It's emotional, but it's part of the process when a franchise is committed to sustained success. And if you're wondering whether Goedert still has value on the trade market, the answer is a resounding yes. There are plenty of teams out there looking for a reliable, experienced tight end who can block and catch. He's not flashy, but he's consistent. He moves the chains. He understands NFL defenses. And for a team with a young quarterback or an offense that relies heavily on tight end sets, Goedert could be a perfect fit. Now, it's all about timing and leverage. If Roseman gets the right offer, he's going to pull the trigger. The only question is, will it be before or after the draft? So let's talk about what happens if this deal doesn't go down before the draft. What if no team steps up in time with the kind of offer the Eagles are hoping for? That's where things get even more interesting. Because once the draft clock hits zero, Philly's leverage shifts. The urgency that exists right now, when teams are still evaluating needs and identifying roster gaps, starts to fade. Teams will have picked their rookies, adjusted their depth charts, and in some cases, might feel less desperate to make a move. But that doesn't mean the door closes on a Goedert trade. It just changes the dynamic. At that point, if a team misses out on a tight and they were targeting in the draft, or if injuries hit early in off-season workouts or training camp, the phone might ring again. The Eagles might not get a second or third rounder, but a fourth or fifth in 2026. That could still be on the table, especially from a playoff caliber team looking to add one more piece to a championship puzzle. That's the beauty of the position the Eagles are in. They don't have to trade Goedert. They're not being forced into a corner. They're holding the cards and waiting for the right play. And knowing Howie Roseman, this isn't just about trading Goedert. It's about what the team looks like in December. It's about positioning the roster to be at its peak when it matters most. Look at what Philly has built. They've invested in the offensive line. They've locked in key pieces at wide receiver. They went and got a game-changing running back. Jalen Hurts is entering the prime of his career. Everything around him is designed to elevate his play. The tight end role in that system becomes a pivotal part of making it all click. So if they move on from Goedert, they'll have a plan, probably multiple backup plans, ready to go. Maybe that plan includes one of the talented prospects from this year's draft class. We're seeing a new wave of tight ends entering the league who are versatile, athletic, and ready to contribute right away. Guys that can line up in the slot, in line, or even outside in certain packages. That's what today's NFL is demanding. Mismatches, speed, flexibility. If the Eagles land someone like that, they're not just replacing Goedert, they're potentially upgrading the position in terms of fit and scheme. And if it's not a rookie, maybe it's a mid-level veteran who's flying under the radar. Someone who's hungry, coachable, and willing to buy into the system. The Eagles aren't strangers to taking calculated risks. Look at their recent history. They've made bold moves at key moments and trusted their evaluation process. Some of those gambles have paid off big time. Others, not so much. But the point is, they're not afraid to shake things up. And fans might be emotional about losing a player like Goedert, but this front office is thinking 3, 4, even 5 years down the line. They're not just trying to win now. They're trying to stay on top. Sustain success. Build a roster that can reload year after year. Dallas Goedert has been nothing but professional throughout his time in Philly. He's been through the highs and lows, the deep playoff runs, and the frustrating exits. He's played hurt, blocked when he could have complained about targets, and showed up every Sunday ready to work. That's the kind of guy you want in your locker room. And that's exactly why other teams are interested. He's not just a stat sheet player. He's a culture guy, a locker room presence, a security blanket for a young quarterback. But at 30 years old, on an expiring contract, and coming off a season where injuries limited his impact, his value might never be higher than it is right now. That's the calculation the Eagles are making. And remember, the league moves fast. A year from now, the tight end market could look completely different. Younger, cheaper options will emerge. Teams will adjust their schemes. The Eagles could find themselves looking back and thinking, we should have made the move when we had the chance. That's what makes this moment so critical. It's not just about what Goedert brings today. It's about what he might cost tomorrow. And for a front office as forward-thinking as Philly's, those long-term projections matter. Every dollar counts. Every roster spot counts. Every draft pick, even 1-2 years out, can be the difference between a good team and a great one. There's also the Saquon Barkley factor. Adding a high-profile, dynamic running back like Barkley changes the way defenses play you. It also shifts the way you distribute the ball. In an offense with so many mouths to feed, Brown, Smith, Barkley, and potentially a new tight end, you need players who can create impact with limited touches. Goedert can do that, sure, but so can a younger, cheaper option. Someone with fresher legs. Someone who can develop alongside Hurts and grow within the offense. That's the vision, and it's starting to come into focus. Of course, there's always the chance that the trade never materializes. Maybe the right offer doesn't come. Maybe the Eagles decide to ride with Goedert for one more year, see how things play out, and then reassess next offseason. That wouldn't be a bad move either. Having a veteran tight end in a contract year often leads to strong performances. Players know what's at stake. They push through injuries. They grind a little harder. And if Goedert comes out and posts a bounce-back season, all of this talk might look premature. But that's the gamble. Do you wait and hope for a resurgence? Or do you sell now, take the value while it's available, and pivot to the next phase? The answers are coming soon. The draft is right around the corner. Front offices are burning the midnight oil, running mock scenarios, making calls, checking medicals, lining up contingencies. And somewhere in that flurry of activity, Dallas Goedert's name keeps coming up. Not because he's a problem, not because he's declining, but because he represents something valuable. A piece that could push a contender over the edge. A chess move that could redefine a season. And Philly, as always, is right in the middle of it. So now we wait. Will a team step up and make the move? Will the Eagles pull the trigger before the draft clock starts ticking? Or will this saga drag into the summer, reshaping itself with every minicamp injury or depth chart surprise? One thing's for sure. When you hear whispers like this, they're not just smoke. There's usually fire. And with a front office like Philly's, you better believe they're not sitting back and hoping for the best. They're strategizing. They're planning. And when the moment is right, they're going to act. Because that's how champions are built. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could become one of the most surprising and polarizing quarterback pursuits in recent NFL history, the Philadelphia Eagles are reportedly showing serious interest in acquiring not one, but two former number 1 overall picks, Baker Mayfield and Trevor Lawrence. As Jalen Hurts battles inconsistency and mounting pressure in the city of brotherly love, whispers from league insiders suggest the Eagles' front office has grown restless. And when a team with championship ambitions starts looking elsewhere under center, fireworks are sure to follow. The rumor mill is spinning, and the names at its center aren't backup caliber options. They're potential franchise changers. Baker Mayfield, currently with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has experienced a career resurgence after years of bouncing between teams. In 2023, he helped Tampa secure a division title, displayed remarkable poise despite a rotating cast of offensive weapons, and earned Pro Bowl honors along the way. His fiery leadership and playmaking ability have caught the attention of multiple teams, but Philadelphia seems particularly intrigued. Sources close to the Eagles camp suggest they value Mayfield's swagger and resilience, seeing him as the kind of battle-tested veteran who could push Hurts or replace him altogether if necessary. But the bigger shock is Philadelphia's emerging interest in Trevor Lawrence. Just months after signing a 5-year, $275 million extension with Jacksonville, Lawrence has endured a disastrous campaign marred by injuries, poor protection, and declining confidence. While his potential remains sky-high, Jacksonville's patience appears to be wearing thin, especially after a 2-8 finish under his command in 2024. Lawrence was placed on injured reserve in December and ended the year with more questions than answers. Now, the Eagles are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, hoping a change of scenery could unlock the brilliance that once made Lawrence the crown jewel of college football. The logistics of landing either quarterback would be immensely complex. Mayfield would require a substantial trade package despite his contract, while Lawrence's freshly inked megadeal complicates matters even more. Yet insiders suggest Philadelphia is unfazed. With a front office known for bold, aggressive moves under GM Howie Roseman, the possibility of executing a blockbuster trade this offseason remains very much alive. The Eagles' war chest of draft capital and their win-now roster construction indicate a willingness to gamble on elite quarterback talent if it means returning to Super Bowl contention. For now, no deals are imminent, and both Tampa Bay and Jacksonville maintain public confidence in their starters. But where there's smoke, there's often fire, and Philadelphia's sudden quarterback flirtations could signal a seismic shift in the NFC landscape. Whether the Eagles truly intend to pursue both Mayfield and Lawrence or are leveraging interest to light a fire under Hurts remains to be seen. One thing is certain. The Eagles are no longer standing pat. They're hunting for answers and, perhaps, a new face of the franchise. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.